My family said I'd never make money with coding. Last year I made $5 million. Hi everyone. Before we get into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed that the channel's reach has been dropping a bit, and one of the best ways you can support us is by subscribing. It's quick, free, and helps us keep bringing you new and interesting stories. Your support means the world to us, and together, we can grow this channel. Thank you so much. Now let's get to today's story. I'm writing from a temporary account for obvious reasons, and I've changed some details to protect my anonymity. My family said I'd never make money with coding. Last year I made $5 million. I'm sitting in my home office right now looking at my bank statements, and I still can't quite believe it myself. The kid who got grounded for wasting time on that damn computer just had his best financial year ever. But let me back up, because this story starts way before the money. I was 12 when I wrote my first line of code. It was summer 2003, and while my older brother Jake was out playing baseball and my sister Emma was at cheerleading camp, I was hunched over our ancient Dell desktop, trying to figure out how to make a simple calculator in Visual Basic. The computer was supposed to be for homework only. But my parents were at work, and I discovered this magical world where you could create literally anything. The first time my dad caught me programming, he yanked the power cord out of the wall. "What the hell is this?" he said, pointing at the screen full of code. "This isn't homework." "It's programming, Dad. I'm learning how to..." "You're learning how to waste time. Go outside, ride your bike, do something normal." Normal. That word haunted my childhood. My family wasn't poor, but we weren't rich either. Dad worked construction. Mom was a secretary at the local high school. They understood hard work, physical work, work you could see and touch. Jake got that. He was the star athlete, the one who made sense to them. Emma got good grades and was popular, which also made sense. I was the weird kid who preferred computers to people. "Programming isn't a real job," Mom would say whenever I brought it up. "You need to think about something practical, maybe accounting, or you could work with your father." The idea of spending my life swinging hammers made me physically sick, but I couldn't explain why without sounding ungrateful. Jake was 3 years older and never let me forget it. "Mom, Alex is on the computer again," he'd yell whenever he wanted to watch TV. It became a constant battle. The computer was in the living room, so anytime I was coding, I was hogging the family space and being antisocial. When I was 14, I saved up money from odd jobs and bought my own laptop. It was a beat-up ThinkPad from eBay that took 5 minutes to boot up, but it was mine. I could code in my room late at night without anyone bothering me. That's when things really took off. I started with simple websites. My first client was Mrs. Henderson, who ran a flower shop downtown. She paid me $50 to build her a basic site with photos of her arrangements and contact information. It took me 3 days, working after school and on weekends. When she handed me that crisp $50 bill, I felt like I'd discovered buried treasure. I didn't tell my parents about it. By sophomore year of high school, I was making a few $100s a month building websites for local businesses. Nothing fancy, just simple WordPress sites with custom themes. But it was real money. Money I earned by solving real problems for real people. My grades started slipping because I was spending all my time on client work. Mom and Dad noticed. "Your report card came in," Dad said one evening at dinner. 2 C's and a D. "What's going on?" "I've been busy with..." "Busy with what? That computer nonsense?" I made the mistake of telling them about the web design business. "You made $300 last month?" Mom asked, like I'd confessed to selling drugs. "Yeah, building websites for..." "Alex, that's not sustainable," she interrupted. "You can't build a career on playing around with computers. You need to focus on school so you can get a real job." Jake laughed from across the table. $300. I make more than that in a week at the grocery store." He did too. Jake had gotten a job bagging groceries after school, and my parents treated him like he was already a captain of industry. "Jake's learning responsibility," Dad would say. "Real work skills, customer service, time management." What was I learning? According to them, nothing that mattered. Junior year, I discovered programming contests. There was one every month at the local community college, and I started placing in the top 3 regularly. I won a scholarship to a coding boot camp, but my parents made me turn it down because it was during the summer and they wanted me to get a real job instead. I spent that summer working at my uncle's auto repair shop, changing oil and sweeping floors, while dreaming about algorithms and databases. The breaking point came senior year. I'd been accepted to several colleges, but the only one I really wanted to attend was Carnegie Mellon for computer science. It was expensive, even with some scholarship money. "We can't afford that," Dad said flatly. "And we're not going into debt for a degree in computer games." "It's not computer games, Dad. It's computer science, software engineering. There are tons of jobs. There are tons of jobs in construction too, and plumbing, and electrical work. Jobs that will always exist. But I don't want to do construction. What you want isn't the point. The point is making a living." Jake was going to state school on a baseball scholarship studying business. Emma was planning to be a teacher, which my parents loved because it was stable and respectable. I was the family disappointment who wanted to waste 4 years studying something that wasn't even a real subject. I ended up at the local state university, majoring in computer science but paying for it mostly myself through loans and part-time web development work. My parents contributed what they could, but made it clear they thought I was making a mistake. "Don't come crying to us when you graduate and can't find a job," Dad said when I declared my major. College was where everything changed. Not because of the classes, though those were good, but because I finally met other people who understood what I was trying to do. My roommate freshman year was a CS major too, and we spent entire nights coding together, building ridiculous projects just for fun. I started freelancing more seriously, taking on bigger projects. By junior year, I was making more money than most of my professors. I built an e-commerce site for a regional clothing chain that brought in $5,000. I developed an inventory management system for a restaurant group that paid $12,000. But when I told my family about these successes, they just didn't get it. "That's nice, honey," Mom would say in the same tone she'd use if I told her I'd won a video game tournament. Jake had graduated and gotten a job at a bank. He was making $45,000 a year, and my parents acted like he'd been named CEO of Goldman Sachs. "Jake bought a house," Mom would tell anyone who'd listen. "He's so responsible, so mature." I was making more money than Jake, but because it came from computer stuff, it somehow didn't count. The real test came after graduation. I had job offers from 3 different tech companies, but I also had an idea for my own business. I'd been working on a project management tool specifically designed for small construction companies. It was targeted, niche, and I thought it could be something special. My family's reaction was predictable. "You're going to turn down a real job to start a company?" Dad asked, incredulous. "Alex, that's insane." "Microsoft offered me $90,000 a year," I said, "but I think this business could be bigger." $90,000? Emma's eyes went wide. "And you're saying no?" "I'm saying no to take a bigger risk for a bigger reward." "That's not how the world works," Dad said. "You take the steady paycheck. You build a career. You don't gamble with your future." But I was 22 and convinced I knew better than everyone. I turned down the Microsoft offer and moved to Austin with $2,000 in savings and a half-finished app. The first year was brutal. I lived in a studio apartment that cost $800 a month and ate ramen most days. The app took longer to build than I'd expected, and when I finally launched it, it got exactly 12 signups in the first month. I called home less and less because every conversation was some variation of, "We told you so." "It's not too late to get a real job," Mom would say. "I'm sure that Microsoft position is still available." It wasn't. I checked, but I kept grinding. I fixed bugs, added features, and slowly built a user base. The breakthrough came in month 8 when a construction company in Dallas signed up and immediately upgraded to the premium plan. Then their contractor friends started joining. Word spread organically through the construction community, exactly like I'd hoped it would. By the end of year 2, I had 200 paying customers and was making enough to move into a one-bedroom apartment and occasionally eat something other than pasta. Year 3 was when things got serious. I hired my first employee, a designer named Sarah, who helped me completely overhaul the user interface. Revenue hit 6 figures for the first time. I was profitable, growing, and finally starting to believe this might actually work. My family's attitude began to shift, but slowly and with a lot of skepticism. "How much are you making now?" Jake asked during a rare phone call. "About $10,000 a month." "That's actually pretty good." Coming from Jake, that was basically a standing ovation. But the real explosion happened in year 4. A large construction management company reached out about licensing my software for their entire network of franchisees. It was the kind of deal that would 10x my business overnight. The negotiation took 6 months. There were lawyers, contracts, technical integrations, and more stress than I'd ever experienced. But when it finally closed, I went from a small niche player to the dominant software solution for mid-sized construction companies across the country. Year 4 revenue, $800,000. Year 5 revenue, $1 million. Last year, $2 million. I remember the day I first saw my annual revenue cross the $5 million mark. I was in my office, the real office I'd rented in a downtown Austin high-rise, and I just stared at the numbers on my screen for about 10 minutes. Then I called my parents. "Mom, I need to tell you something." "What's wrong? You sound weird." "Nothing's wrong. My business did really well last year." "That's nice, honey. How well?" "I made $5 million. Silence. "Alex, that's not funny." "I'm not joking." More silence. $5 million? "Yes." "From the computer thing?" "From the construction management software I've been working on for 6 years." I heard her put the phone down and call for my dad. There was muffled conversation, then Dad picked up. "Alex, your mother says you made $5 million? "That's right." "Jesus Christ, are you sure?" "Pretty sure. I've been staring at the bank statements for an hour." The conversation that followed was surreal. Years of dismissal and skepticism evaporated in about 30 seconds. Suddenly, my computer nonsense was a successful technology business. My risky decisions were entrepreneurial vision. The calls started coming more frequently after that, not just from my parents, but from relatives I hadn't heard from in years. "Alex, it's your Aunt Linda. I heard about your success. Congratulations. Listen, I wanted to talk to you about a little business opportunity." Jake called 2 weeks later with a different kind of request. "Hey Alex, I know we haven't talked much lately, but I wanted to ask you something. Sarah and I are looking at houses, and we found this perfect place, but we're about $20,000 short on the down payment." Emma was more direct. "Alex, I know you're doing really well now. I'm drowning in student loans for my master's program. Could you help me out?" My parents never asked for money directly, but they started dropping hints. "The roof needs to be replaced, but it's going to cost $15,000. Dad's truck is making that noise again, and the repair shop says it might be time for a new one." The strangest part was how they started talking about my childhood. Suddenly, I'd always been so smart with computers, and they'd always known I'd be successful. The years of grounding me for coding, the lectures about getting a real job, the constant comparisons to Jake's practical choices. All of that was quietly forgotten. At Christmas last year, Dad introduced me to his friends as my son, the tech entrepreneur. I wanted to remind him that 2 years earlier he'd suggested I give up on the business and apply to the post office. But I didn't. What would be the point? The money changed things, obviously. I bought a house in Austin. Nothing crazy, just a nice 3-bedroom with a home office and a yard. I drive a Tesla now, which my dad loves to tell people about. I travel more, eat better food, and I don't check my bank account before making purchases anymore. But the biggest change is in how my family sees me. Jake and I have a better relationship now, partly because I'm not the family disappointment anymore. Emma and I text regularly. My parents are proud of me in a way they never were before. Is it because of who I became, or because of how much money I make? Honestly, I think it's both, and I'm okay with that. I did help Jake with his down payment. $20,000 was a rounding error in my business at that point, and seeing him get his dream house was worth it. I paid off Emma's student loans too, because debt is stressful and life is short. I haven't replaced my parents' roof or bought my dad a new truck, not because I can't afford it, but because I want them to ask. Really ask, not hint around the edges. We spent 15 years with them telling me my choices were wrong, and I think they need to acknowledge that before I start writing checks. Maybe that's petty. Maybe I should just be the bigger person and take care of everyone. But I've learned that money doesn't erase history. It just gives you more options for how to deal with it. The funny thing is, the business keeps growing. What started as a simple project management tool is now a comprehensive platform that handles everything from scheduling to invoicing to compliance tracking. We have 43 employees, customers in 12 countries, and I'm in talks with a private equity firm about a potential acquisition that would value the company at over $50 million. Last month, I was featured on the cover of Entrepreneur magazine. The headline was, "From Dorm Room to Boardroom, How One Developer Built a Construction Tech Empire." My mom bought 15 copies. She sent them to relatives I'd forgotten we had, with handwritten notes about how proud she is of her tech genius son. It's sweet, and I appreciate it, but there's a part of me that wishes she'd been proud when I was 22 and eating ramen, not just now that I'm 31 and successful. But that's the thing about family. You can't change the past. You can only decide how much power you want to give it over your future. I still code, by the way. Not as much as I used to, but I still love sitting down with a problem and building something that solves it. That 12-year-old kid hunched over the Dell desktop is still in there somewhere, still fascinated by the magic of making computers do exactly what you want them to do. The difference is that now, when I tell people I'm a programmer, they listen differently. Success is a funny thing like that. It doesn't just change your bank account, it changes how people hear your voice. 3 weeks ago, I got a call from a high school guidance counselor. She'd seen the magazine article and wanted to know if I'd speak to her computer science students about career opportunities in tech. A lot of these kids are interested in programming, she said, but their parents don't think it's a real career path. I almost laughed. "I'll do it," I said. The talk was last Friday. 23 kids, mostly juniors and seniors, all dealing with some version of what I went through. After my presentation, a kid named Marcus raised his hand. "My dad says programming jobs are going to be taken over by AI soon. He wants me to study something more stable." I thought about my dad's construction jobs, the ones that were supposed to be recession-proof until 2008 hit, and he was unemployed for 8 months. I thought about stable careers and safe choices, and all the ways we convince ourselves that playing it safe is actually safer. "Here's what I'll tell you," I said to Marcus. "Every career has risks. The question is whether you want to take risks doing something you love or risks doing something you hate. I'd rather fail at something I'm passionate about than succeed at something that bores me." After the talk, Marcus came up to me with his laptop. He'd built a mobile app for tracking high school sports scores. It was rough around the edges, but the core idea was solid. "This is really good," I told him. "Have you shown it to any local newspapers? I bet they'd be interested in partnering with a student developer." His eyes lit up. "You think so?" "I know so. Programming isn't just a job, Marcus. It's a superpower. You can build anything you can imagine." Driving home from the school, I called my dad. "Hey Dad, how's it going?" Good, just watching the game. Jake's team is winning." "That's great. Listen, I wanted to ask you something. Do you remember when I was in high school and I wanted to go to Carnegie Mellon for computer science?" "Of course. That was expensive." "It was. But do you ever think about what might have happened if I'd gone?" There was a long pause. "Alex, I think about that a lot, actually. Your mother and I, we were just trying to protect you. We didn't understand what you were doing, and it scared us." "I know. We thought if we pushed you towards something safe, something we understood, you'd be better off. We were wrong. It was the closest thing to an apology I was ever going to get, and it was enough. You weren't wrong to want me to be safe, I said. You were just wrong about what safe looks like. I'm proud of you, son. I don't say it enough, but I am. You built something incredible. Thanks, Dad. And Alex, that roof really does need replacing. I laughed. I'll call a contractor tomorrow. Because that's the thing about success. It's not about proving people wrong or getting revenge on everyone who doubted you. It's about becoming the person you always knew you could be, and then using that position to lift up the people you care about. My family said I'd never make money with coding. They were wrong about the money, but they were right about one thing. It did change me, just not in the way they expected. The scared kid who used to hide in his room writing code grew up to be someone who isn't afraid to take risks, who isn't afraid to bet on himself, who isn't afraid to be different. And that, more than any bank balance, is the real success story.